Let me take you inside the storm right now, because what's happening in Cleveland feels less like football and more like a slow-motion car crash that everyone sees coming, but nobody stops. I've covered controversies. I've seen quarterbacks mismanaged before, but this is different. This is a franchise standing at a crossroads, a head coach hanging by a thread, and a young quarterback, Shedeur, caught in the middle of a fire he didn't ignite. The Browns were supposed to be building a future. Instead, they may be tearing it down before it even begins. And I can't sit back and pretend this is just another storyline. No, this is sabotage, plain and simple. And before I dive all the way in, let me tell you this. I've got something special lined up for my viewers. I'm giving away an official jersey to one of you, completely free. All you've got to do is drop a comment below and make sure you're subscribed. That's it. I'll be pulling a winner from the comments and subscribers right before the first regular season kickoff. So if you've ever thought about joining this community, now's the time. Hit that subscribe button, leave your take in the comments, and you might just be repping a brand new jersey when the season begins. Kevin Stefanski, a coach whose posture now looks less like a leader and more like a man bracing for impact. You can hear it in his words. "I don't concern myself with outside noise," he insists. But when your voice trembles, when your eyes dart as you try to sell that line to reporters, you're not convincing anyone. Not them, not us, not even yourself. And the truth is, the outside noise isn't just noise anymore. It's a roar fueled by one baffling decision after another. And none louder than the moment Stefanski yanked Sanders out of the most critical point of a game, the 2-minute drill. The moment every young quarterback needs. The crucible where legends are born. And instead of letting Sanders grow under that pressure, he handed the keys to Tyler Huntley. Huntley, a stopgap, a placeholder, a guy with no long-term future in Cleveland. I remember sitting there thinking, what are we doing? This isn't development, this is malpractice. Fans knew it, analysts knew it, even the locker room felt it. Within days, offensive linemen who had stood in front of Sanders were released, contracts terminated, chaos spreading through Cleveland like wildfire. And Stefanski? He scrambled to justify it, mumbling about how Huntley needed the reps. Reps? For what? For who? Huntley isn't the future of this team. Sanders is. Yet Sanders, the player the franchise should be rallying behind, was stuck on the sideline, helmet in hand, watching opportunity slip away. And then came the explosion. TJ Houshmandzadeh didn't mince words. "I've never seen a coach sabotage his own player like this," he said. Let that sink in. Sabotage. Not mismanagement, not poor judgment. Sabotage. And he's not alone. More and more voices are saying it feels personal between Stefanski and Sanders, that the bias is obvious. And once players and analysts start throwing around the word bias, that's when the smoke turns into fire. The signs were always there if you were paying attention. Think back to Sanders' preseason debut. Flawless, commanding, a rookie standing tall under the lights. He earned national praise that night, fans buzzing, reporters writing headlines. But Stefanski? His response was hollow, dismissive, not even a hint of recognition. It was as if the narrative had been written before Sanders ever stepped onto the field. No matter how good he looks, we're not going to give him credit. That's not coaching, that's an agenda. And that's why so many of us now believe Sanders was set up to fail from the very beginning. Not because of talent, not because of effort, but because of politics, fear, and a system that never wanted him to succeed. And here's the irony. The trap they laid for Sanders is now closing around Stefanski himself, because fans have had enough. They're chanting the truth in every corner of Cleveland. Sanders is our quarterback. Sanders deserves to start. Sanders is the future. That's the pulse of the city, and it's only getting louder. Stefanski's body language tells the story. His shoulders slumped, his tone defensive. He looks like a man drowning in his own decisions. And now, suddenly, he's changing his tune. "I'm committed to Sanders' development," he says. But that's not conviction. That's desperation. That's a coach who can feel the seat burning underneath him. The analysts aren't letting up either. One after another, they're tearing into his choices. Some have gone as far as to say Stefanski sabotaged Sanders by surrounding him with players who had no business being in the league. Think about that for a second. Even Tom Brady at his peak would have struggled with that lineup. So when Sanders faltered under impossible conditions, the whispers began. Maybe he's not ready. Maybe he's just not that guy. But those whispers, they weren't born from truth. They were planted. A narrative designed to bury Sanders before he ever had a chance to rise. Skip Bayless slammed the Browns. Stephen A. Smith predicted this exact scenario months ago. And G. Bush, he's been pointing out the obvious. Sanders' work ethic is undeniable. Early mornings, late nights, first one in, last one out. The man is grinding to prove himself. But none of it matters if the coach in charge is dead set on keeping him in the shadows. And then came the bombshell, the lawsuit. Yes, you heard that right. Sanders has reportedly launched a legal strike against Kevin Stefanski, accusing him of intentional sabotage, character assassination, and deliberate obstruction of his development. This isn't frustration. This isn't venting. This is nuclear. This is a quarterback saying, "I've had enough. I'm taking it to court." And the details? They're damning. Claims of fabricated injury reports. Benching him in key preseason moments, not for football reasons, but to kill his momentum. Systematic efforts to damage his professional reputation. Words like malicious intent and tortious interference filling the filings. Sources say Sanders' legal team has been building this case for months, tracking reps, documenting interactions, collecting evidence in real time. Damages being sought? We're talking 8 figures. Within hours of the lawsuit being filed, the NFL scrambled. Roger Goodell himself reportedly had to step into an emergency call, trying to contain the fallout. This isn't a small story anymore. This is Deflategate-level chaos brewing right before our eyes. And the craziest part? None of this feels shocking. Because we saw the signs. We've been watching the cracks form since day one. And now, it's not just about Sanders anymore. It's about the Browns as a whole, their leadership, their direction, their credibility, and whether Kevin Stefanski has any right to steer this franchise moving forward. So I'll ask you, do you believe this was just bad judgment from Stefanski, or was it calculated sabotage? Was Sanders deliberately set up to fail, or are we watching a coach lose control of a situation he never truly had a grip on? Drop your thoughts below, because this firestorm isn't cooling down anytime soon. In fact, it feels like it's only just beginning. Let me take you back to that Philadelphia Eagles preseason game, the moment that turned into the breaking point. Sanders had been the story of camp all week. Every practice, every drill, every snap. He wasn't just performing, he was dominating. Coaches couldn't ignore it, teammates couldn't deny it, reporters couldn't help but talk about it. By all accounts, Sanders had earned the start. It wasn't just handed to him, he worked, he grinded, he took it. And then, in an instant, it was gone. He was benched. The excuse? An oblique injury, a phantom injury, something that didn't exist outside of a press release. Because here's the truth, medical records confirmed Sanders was perfectly healthy. No tweaks, no strains, no limitations. He was ready to go. Everyone inside that locker room knew it. But this wasn't just about one benching. Look closer. Training camp footage tells the story in brutal clarity. Sanders was outperforming Dylan Gabriel in every measurable way. Completion percentage? Sanders. Touchdown to interception ratio? Sanders. Pocket command, decision-making, extending plays when everything broke down? Sanders again. Veteran side, they talked about it. Joe Flacco himself reportedly admitted the kid's ready right now. Yet when the lights came on, Gabriel got the nod, and Sanders sidelined. Now I need you to understand this. In today's NFL, being benched doesn't just mean missing a few plays. It means millions, yes, millions are being stolen from you. Every time Sanders sits, he loses exposure. Endorsement opportunities dry up. Rookie card value plummets. Social media presence fades. His team's decision wasn't just costing him snaps, it was costing him a fortune. Legal filings now estimate those losses in the tens of millions. And that's why this story has escalated from football drama to full-blown economic sabotage. The fallout has been seismic. Networks are furious. When Sanders isn't on the field, people tune out. Ratings for a nationally televised Browns game without him down almost 4 million viewers. That's not a dip, that's catastrophic. Advertisers are furious. CBS and Fox are questioning prime time slots. ESPN is planning investigative specials. You know it's serious when TV executives, people who care about nothing but numbers, are picking up the phone and demanding answers from league offices. This isn't just about a depth chart anymore. This is a media revolt. And then there's ownership. Jimmy Haslam is stuck between protecting his coach's authority and protecting the future of his franchise. Sources say emergency meetings are happening every single day. Sponsors are threatening to walk. Season ticket holders are canceling. Other owners, guys like Jerry Jones and Robert Kraft, are allegedly putting pressure on Haslam to resolve this before it spirals out of control. Meanwhile, social media has exploded. Hashtags like #FreeSanders and #FireStefanski are climbing into the top global trends. TikTok and Instagram are flooded with clips of Sanders torching defenders in practice. Twitter, or X, whatever you want to call it, is ablaze with conspiracy theories, stat breakdowns, and demands for justice. For younger fans, this isn't just about one quarterback. It's a generational clash. Old school coaching philosophies versus the modern reality of quarterback empowerment. And here's the undeniable truth. Sanders has proven himself on the field. His anticipation, his processing speed, his pocket awareness, it's all elite. Receivers flock to his huddle. Linemen trust his protection calls. Defensive teammates respect his leadership. Everyone in that building knows it. By every objective standard, Sanders outshined Gabriel. And yet, Gabriel was chosen. Why? Competence, not brilliance. Safe decisions, passable accuracy, no fireworks, no disasters. In other words, the definition of replacement-level football. Sanders, meanwhile, was igniting plays that electrified the entire offense. He wasn't just playing quarterback, he was elevating everyone around him. The contrast couldn't have been more obvious. Unless, of course, it wasn't about football at all. Maybe Stefanski saw Sanders' superiority and still chose to sideline him for reasons that had nothing to do with the game. Power struggles, hierarchies, resistance to ownership pressure. Whatever the motive, the fallout is undeniable. Because now we've entered uncharted territory. Sanders has taken this battle off the field and into the courtroom. This lawsuit doesn't just challenge Stefanski, it challenges the entire system. For decades, coaches have had unquestioned authority over depth charts, injury designations, and roster management. That power has always been sacred, untouchable, until now. Sanders is saying enough. He's saying this wasn't strategy, this was sabotage. And if he wins, the precedent will shake the NFL to its very foundation. Imagine it. Quarterbacks suing for lack of development, veterans filing for age discrimination, every underutilized player asking the same question, can I sue too? Suddenly, every coaching decision comes with a legal risk. Every injury report could trigger litigation. Pandora's box has been cracked wide open, and the NFL is panicking. And Sanders' camp? They're not looking for a quick settlement. They're ready for war. The discovery process alone could shred the Browns' credibility. Emails between Stefanski and coordinators hinting at bias, practice footage exposing deliberate marginalization, medical records proving the phantom injury was a lie, player testimonies confirming Sanders' dominance. Every revelation cuts deeper into Cleveland's reputation while fortifying Sanders' case. Even inside the building, the fractures are spreading. Reports suggest the offensive coordinator quietly supports Sanders. Position coaches have voiced concerns. GM Andrew Berry is said to be distancing himself, maybe even planning his own escape. The players? They're divided. Receivers are loudly backing Sanders. Linemen are conflicted. The defense is openly frustrated. The locker room is breaking into camps, veterans defending old traditions, younger players rallying around Sanders as a symbol of empowerment. And the money? The losses are staggering. Nike is reportedly reconsidering partnerships if Sanders stays buried. Local sponsors are threatening to renegotiate. National brands don't want to be tied to dysfunction. Sanders' merchandise sales are tanking, bleeding revenue from both the Browns and the league. Suppressing a marketable superstar defies every rule of business. Ownership can't ignore it. At league level, panic is setting in. Roger Goodell has allegedly assigned senior executives to crisis manage the situation. Daily briefings, legal strategies, competition committee discussions, it's all hands on deck. The NFLPA is mobilizing too, because this isn't just one player's fight. This could reshape labor relations across the entire league. The media can't get enough. Sports networks dedicate entire blocks to this story. Analysts split on air, some defending coaching authority, others calling it outright sabotage. Former players weigh in. Legal scholars debate precedent. Business experts crunch numbers. It's dominating headlines, overshadowing preseason games, and generating Super Bowl-level engagement in August. But here's the bigger picture. To an entire generation of fans, Sanders isn't just another quarterback. He's a symbol, a defiant voice against an outdated system, a player unafraid to challenge power where so many before him stayed silent. Filing this lawsuit isn't viewed as petty. It's seen as brave, as necessary, as revolutionary. And that's why this story won't fade. This isn't a passing controversy. This isn't another off-season drama. This is a cultural moment, a battle that could redefine what it means to be a quarterback, a coach, and even a fan in the NFL. Sanders isn't just fighting for snaps, he's fighting for fairness, for opportunity, for respect, and the outcome could change football forever.